morning, YouTube. Well, it's morning for me when I'm filming this. I'm up before everybody, so using this quiet to get a video or two done. It's a good makeup day, so might as well. Hair, meh. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about today is kind of my journey, where I started in spirituality versus where I am now. And my spiritual journey starts with Christianity. When I was a little kid, my parents would take us to Baptist churches on and off. In fact, my father, who was much older, he was nearly 60 by the time I was born. So he had this whole other life before he was my father, was a Baptist minister at some point. He was never a minister while I was growing up, so I never grew up as a minister's child, but he was a minister. Um, he had some interesting beliefs for um, somebody who'd been to seminary. One, he didn't think that Christians should reject their gay children. He was nearly 80 when we had this conversation. So when people talk about how, oh, it's just the older people and whatever, my dad was nearly 80 and he recognized that, rejecting your children because they're homosexual was a wrong thing to do. And he thought it was disgraceful and distasteful. Told me that he would love me even if I was gay. I didn't come out as bisexual to him at the time. I never did. But at the time, I was like, it's none of his business. So, anyway, tangent. I'm good at those. And when I was about 9, I started having dreams that I was walking around with Jesus and his disciples. And so I begged my mom to take me back to church and get baptized. And so I did. And we go to Baptist churches on and off throughout the years. And then when I got in high school, a person that I ate lunch with was always inviting people to his church. So I decided I would go. And it was an Assemblies of God church, which is a Pentecostal, charismatic faith. And I was so blown away with the intensity of everything. I mean, I was totally committed after that for the next 4 years to that church. Every time a church door was open, I was there. Whether it be a prayer meeting, revival, Sunday school. Yeah. I mean, I refer to those years as fanatine. I was a zealot. I was all in. And I had some views in my heart that didn't align with Christianity that about abortion. At the time I believed that, we should persuade people not to have abortions, but that it should be legal to protect women and their choice and their freedom of religion in this country. Uh, in my heart, I didn't really think there was anything wrong with being gay because I knew I was bisexual myself and couldn't voice that. Uh, I still would say, homosexuality is a sin, but I didn't really understand where that came from in the Bible and why they were saying that. I just knew it was parroted to me. It was not my original belief, you know. Um, but my relationships with the few gay people who were out at my high school at the time were very much, you know, hate the sin but love the sinner type of, BS. But when I was 19, things shifted. I had a crisis of faith. My mother passed away unexpectedly. And I, of course, sank into grief and depression. And around that time, we got the internet. And so I had all these feelings and these people who would talk to me about these feelings. And I got kind of sucked into the internet. I was nearly addicted, started missing things because I had to be in the chat rooms. And I pulled away from the church, and I was exposed to these new ideas like atheism. And no, these people weren't evil. They weren't devil worshippers. They weren't anything that I had been told that an atheist was. Uh, I started talking romantically to people. I started talking sexually to people because I was young and curious about my own sexuality, and ended up kind of running away at 20, like a month into 20. Because I remember it was my mother's birthday, and I got into a huge fight with my sister. And, of course, we were both hurting and grieving, so we were very hurtful to one another. I ended up just packing up my stuff and kind of forcing my way into moving in with this much older man that I had met on the internet. And that's a topic for another day. But while I was there and I had sex for the first time, I was like, didn't feel that condemnation and guilt that I expected to feel. So I concluded that God doesn't care about all this stuff that they told me that God really cared about. And I, of course, while I was shacked up, didn't find a new church or anything. And, of course, eventually I found a job and had to work Sundays a lot of the time. So I just never fell back into a church. And so I was spiritually stagnant for a long time. Not really sure where I fit into the whole thing. I looked at deism because it had always appealed to me when I first heard of it in school. This idea that God existed and that you could see Him, the evidence for the divine in nature. And the whole hands off thing didn't make a lot of sense to me because, I was fanatici. I believed I had a personal relationship with God. And when I was in church, I felt the Spirit move. I mean, I spoke in tongues. I laughed in the Spirit. I danced in Spirit. I cried in Spirit. I went through the whole thing. A lot of people that I hear talk about from their journey from Christianity to paganism talk about how they never really connected. I did. I was the prayer warrior in chief, man. I was manifesting at that young age because I was in spiritual alignment. I was doing the things that the Bible told me to do, that the pastors told me to do. I was doing all of that, and I was praying. I was spending a lot of time on that personal relationship with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so spiritual stagnation. I remember after I broke up with that much older man, I did look at magic because I was going to curse him, but this whole threefold law thing was there, and I decided not to. And I was very interested in Egyptian mythology, had been since I was first introduced to it in high school. I was getting all these books on Egyptian mythology, and I was obsessed with Isis. I was going to get an Isis tattoo, but I was certain if I got an Isis tattoo, that I would end up pregnant with her being a fertility goddess. Um, Side note, I did work with Isis to conceive my baby. I do plan on making a video about that. But obsessed with Egyptian mythology and getting figures of Isis and stuff. And she was probably calling to me, but I couldn't recognize it then as a calling because I was like, they weren't real. I don't believe that the other deities weren't even real. They were man made and everything. But so I just kind of believed in nothing. And then I shifted to agnosticism, which I believe is the purest expression of faith. You can't have faith with no doubt at all. So, just my personal opinion. Uh, and then eventually, about 4 years ago, I gave myself permission to look outside of Christianity for spirituality. I was tired of not having a spiritual life because spirituality had been such a big part of me growing up and, you know, how I viewed everything. I always thought of myself as a spiritual person, not a religious person. So Wicca was the only thing I knew about at the time. So that's where I started. And a lot of people start there, you know. And I hate to talk about Wicca as the best place to start, and then you move on to other things because I don't think that's fair to Wicca. I don't think it's, magic with training wheels, but I do like the way it kind of marries spirituality and magic. When I first got into Wicca and was studying it, I didn't call myself Wiccan. I never did because I was didn't want to jump into another religion and go fanatical again, which I know that's not really part of pagan path to proselytizing. I wasn't going to be door knocking like I was in my past. Uh, as much as I would love to share the joy if I could say with everyone, I'm not going to do that. Um, so, anyway, all right, I gave myself permission. I got over the fear of going to hell. And that took me a while because I had dabbled in magic a little bit. I did a sigil. I didn't know anything about magic or sigils. I just knew they were quick, fast, and they worked. And it did work, but it backfired. And, I did a sigil to get a baby because that's what I wanted so badly. And I got pregnant for the very first time ever. And I had a miscarriage very early on. And it was incredibly painful because I delivered it naturally. They didn't give me any pain pills. It was very public. It was in an emergency room right after Christmas, so it was packed. And they didn't get to me fast enough, and I pretty much lost my baby in front of a bunch of strangers. It was very, very emotional, very hard to heal from, still healing. Uh, and I believe it's because I wasn't ready, my body wasn't ready, but also I didn't respect the magic and where it came from and how it worked. And that's why it backfired on me the way it did. But I was convinced at the time that God killed my baby because I dabbled in witchcraft. I don't think that's what happened, but I'll go into that with another video. But so 4 years ago, I started studying Wicca. Studied it for the year and a day. I still read Wiccan literature because I can pull from it. I find it to be a beautiful religion. Just the Lord and the Lady didn't resonate with me. That part of their spirituality. The ceremonial nature of their magic doesn't resonate with me. I still will cast circle occasionally, but I don't really do that. Um, and you know, I got pregnant, so all I did was study. I didn't have the energy to work magic. And then I had the baby, so I had a whole new set of responsibilities to take care of. So I was still studying. It was hard to find time to work magic. Uh, I joined a coven. It was I want to say, a hoodoo based coven. And so it wasn't like, your traditional Wiccan coven, but it was a coven. Um, I parted badly from that. I still cherish my time and the individuals that I met through that. Lovely, lovely people. Still in touch with some of them, and I wouldn't trade the experience for what it taught me. Um, but my practice kind of stagnated when I was in the coven. There's that stagnation again, but part of that was just my, you know, having a child and trying to balance that. I'm also disabled and chronically ill. I have fibromyalgia. So finding the spoons, if you will, to do magic and to actually do my practice was difficult with all of that. With my child being 3 now, it's a little easier. And I've also given up on the idea of everything has to be perfectly quiet and still. When she goes to bed, I do my magic, and If she gets out of her room and runs up on me and asks me, "What you doing, mommy?" I tell her, "I'm doing magic. I'm working these herbs. That's what they are." I know she won't retain that, but I'm not hiding it from her. And so currently, I'm in a coven, a virtual coven, which I think is the best of both worlds. I still get my solitary practice and not feeling like a bunch of stuff is imposed on me. Then I have my community where I'm able to daily meet with people through technology, bounce ideas off each other, learn from each other, and it's a totally different environment. So far, so good. Uh, but it's not a traditional coven either. It's not Wicca based or any tradition based. We all have different paths. We all work with different deities. Although we've no, I'm not gonna share that. That's a coven thing. When I first got into studying the path, I was hesitant to work magic. I was like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for spirituality and not magic. Like I was somehow better than those who were seeking magic. But anyway, Hecate, and I know it was Hecate, even though I was brand new, didn't know anything. She came to me and she whispered in my ear, "What are you scared of?" And from that night forward, I realized that really I was scared of magic. I was still scared of that going to hell for working magic. And I decided to take a chance and throw that out the window and to start working magic and start doing spells. And I'm so glad I did. So glad I did. But right now, I work with several deities. I may make videos on each individual deity and my relationship with them, how I see them. I'm trying to branch out more into the witchcraft community, even though I'm not out of the broom closet. I hope to make spiritual products. I have an Etsy store. I have some soaps available. I am open to doing tarot readings. That's listed on my Etsy as well. I'm gonna post some longer readings right now. I only have like 10-minute general kind of readings. I guess this video is mostly about my transition. What there is to say about my current path. I'm a pantheist slash polytheist. I don't know if you can be both, but I believe in the all and the different faces of different deities and coming from the same energy. I hope to initiate in something someday, but the path hasn't resonated with me yet. I'm trying to learn more Celtic magic to get into, my actual ancestry. I had one of those DNA tests done, and I'm mostly Scottish and British. So that might lead me back to Wicca. I don't know. Exciting. I have practiced hoodoo. I still do on occasion. I I love it. I think that it makes sense. It's very natural magic. Uh, yes. I don't use a lot of tools. I plan on making a video what tools I use, don't use, and wish I used more. But that's it for this video, I think. I've talked long enough. Got a ramble, but to be expected here on this channel, I guarantee. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things for me. They're much appreciated. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. All right.